Sorry guys that we're tuning on late. We're having technical difficulties, but nevertheless, this is West Wednesday, week 516, and that's a very long time to be fighting for anything. But not only are we fighting for accountability for my brother Tyrone West, who was murdered back on July the 18th, 2013, we're fighting for all the victims of police brutality and murder. So it's just really sad, but because we started so late, I just want to dive straight into West Wednesday. So tonight, I wanted to talk about the way the media hide white suspects when they commit crimes or they lowball it. So this weekend, unfortunately, we had on Sunday in Annapolis, we had white suspect Charles Robert Smith, who was 43 years old. He shot 6 people, he shot 6 Hispanic people, but he killed 3 of them, which were a father who was 55, and his son that was 27 years old, and another person that was 25. And my heart goes completely out to the family. Deeply sorry that that's happened. That's just such a tragedy. It doesn't matter who commits these crimes. Murder is murder. Nobody deserves to be brutally murdered. But literally, and then he wounded 3 other people. You know, my heart goes out for them because they're fighting. And this was for an alleged parking spot. Literally, they were celebrating a graduation, some type of party. They were all celebrating where they had over 100 and something guests. And literally, he came and he murdered 3 innocent people over a parking spot. But the way they talked about him, it was disturbing when I found out on Monday about it, because they said they had a person in interest, and then, you know, when they talked about him, they said, oh, a alleged suspect, and they didn't badmouth him, and it was just, you know, it's just the way that they cover up white suspects. But meanwhile, back on April the 20th, when we had Marvell Worsley, 48, to actually, for the same type of thing, over a parking spot, he unfortunately, he was 48 years old, he's 48 years old, but he actually murdered a woman, which was her neighbor, and she literally, her dad tried to, you know, talk things through, and her dad, who was at the time, he was 49, and he was murdered, and even his mother, which is her grandmother, that was 69, she was murdered, and another person was wounded. But my whole point is, when they was talking about, all we kept hearing all week long was about the shooting, all this, that, and the third, but yet now they're not even really talking about what happened in Annapolis, and that is very disturbing to me. I don't like the way the media hide white suspects. I don't like the way they treat black suspects. My thing is, whoever murders, they need to be called out, they need to be brought to accountability. But I knew immediately, right away, when they were describing what happened in Annapolis, I said, there gotta be somebody Caucasian. I knew it. And then now they're saying they want to investigate to see if it was a hate crime. It's like disgusting. It's sad that people can't even get to celebrate in peace. You can't do nothing in peace nowadays. And it literally broke my heart when we heard about, it was somewhere in some city where a father and son was going to a high school graduation. The son had just graduated to have Richmond, to actually be murdered. You actually go through all the trials of not being a dropout. It's so hard, and nowadays just to walk across the stage, you actually make it to that moment, and someone comes to your graduation and murder you, and not only you, your father. That is disgusting. It is horrible. It's like so much is going on, and I don't want to traumatize people, but it's just a lot going on. And I just wanted to point out the way the media, to me, is the biggest, you know, participants in this, to make everything like, just like they make the police look like they're good characters and this, that, and the third, and then they make us look bad. You know, no matter what we do, they always show a rerun after rerun. You get tired of seeing it. But then when white people commit crimes, it's always neaten up. They don't call them suspect. They don't call them thugs. It's just like, oh, we're going to deal with this. This sounds like a love story when they're reporting it. But whenever we report anything, it's always the opposite. And again, you know, I hear somebody saying something, but that lets us know that we are affected. Because every time we come out here and they send agitators, that means we're doing our job. And I'm never going to stop fighting for accountability for my brother, and not just for my big brother, but for all the victims of police brutality and murder. So I don't give a damn who they send out to be a distraction. It's not going to work. It is not going to work. And speaking of distractions, it's just like a lot of people, and I'm going to bring my sister out, Adina, who's going to address that issue, but a lot of people are literally, to me, stepping down. And then you have people just pushing up, and I'm talking about our new commissioner. Like literally, our commissioner, he just literally just walked away and said, hey, I'm not doing this no more. Have a good day. Have a good life. I got to meet you guys. Y'all made me feel good at the supermarket, but guess what? I'm gone. The city is in an uproar. I'm gone. I'm gone. And then if that wasn't enough, the person that they're trying to put in there, the same exact person that was in office as deputy commissioner when my brother was brutally murdered, he did nothing. And then they're talking about a residential thing, whereas though they're saying they're trying to get that straight. First of all, to be deputy commissioner, you had to live in Baltimore. You had to live in the city, and he lives in the county. So that been a conflict. So you're actually not even going to let the people, us, choose, just like we got Davis in there and all these other ones, you know, in office, things like that, where we as people got to select who we want. Why is it that Brandon Scott can pick who he wants? No, it should be left to the people. But no further ado, I'm going to bring my sister Adina up. Mic check.
Mic check.
Good evening. I am here to talk about not just the carousel of clown commissioners that we've had since 2013, but I'm also going to finally talk about my own experience. So since 2013, since Tyrone's murder, we've had Anthony Batts, Kevin Davis, Daryl D'Souza, Gary Tuggle, I bet all you didn't even remember that because it was like a month, Michael Harrison, and now they're trying to nominate Richard Worley. And that carousel of clowns is something, but yeah, right. And in as far as the Northeast District goes, they have had different majors that were in command over there, and it started in December 2012 through November 2016. That's when Richard Worley was the major over there, and ever since then, like, they've changed majors over there in command, like, I don't know, sometimes twice a year. They haven't had anybody consistent in command over there. But while Richard Worley was in command over there, Chapman and Ruiz, so Jorge Bernardez Ruiz and Nicholas Chapman, were responsible for $1.5 million, approximate $1 million in taxpayer money being paid out to police brutality cases. Some of those cases were the Joseph and James Green, the Green brothers, that happened in May of 2013. Abdul Salam, early July 2013. Jarrell Harris, which he didn't have a successful lawsuit because they hindered that, but he was assaulted and harassed the day before Tyrone was killed in July of 2013. Then Tyrone West was killed July 2013. Then my family, September 2015. And then Thomas McCullough, February 2016. Now this is just one cop, Bernardez Ruiz, involved in all of those. And Chapman was involved in some of those. But one cop under Richard Worley's purview, responsible for that much taxpayer money. And that's just the cases that were reported, where people got a lawyer and people actually sued the city. And then we taxpayers had to pay. So Richard Worley, not only does he not live in the city, but when he was the major at the Northeast District, he did nothing for Tawanda's family. And when my incident happened 2 years later, it started in the spring of 2015. There was really weird activity going on at a house across the street from mine, where it looked like they were actually running guns and drugs, not just drugs. Like, there was really weird stuff going on. And I was part of the neighborhood association, and they would encourage you, you know, email Richard Worley, email the community liaison. So I did this and got no response. So it went on all summer. They were running drugs and guns out of this house. And I was taking down tag numbers. I was taking pictures of stuff. I was calling the precinct. Nobody would return my call. And finally, I physically went up to the precinct because when I called, they were telling me some BS, like, you have to come up here at night and talk to the drug detectives. And it was total bullshit. You can't talk to anybody. You can't talk to anybody at nighttime at the Northeast District. So I physically went up there and I was like, look, like, how do I do anything about this? Because, like, I wasn't concerned really about the drugs. I was concerned that there were guns being run out of there. And the guy at the desk, who looked a lot like, who was the big one? The real big one? Yeah, but he looked a lot like, Derek. Yeah, he looked, Derek Beasley. Yeah, he looked like Derek Beasley. He was a big dude like that. Takes my name and number and says he's going to give it to a drug detective. So he gives my number to this drug detective, Reggie Parker, who was also on Tyrone West's scene that night. And he contacts me, and he pretty much feeds, tries to get information from me, finding out how much I know, like what I've been doing. So I told him I was taking down plate numbers, I was doing this, I was doing that, or whatever. So long story short, as you say, September 2015, the beginning of the month, I see that the drug dealer from that house is a white guy. That's why he was allowed to just traipse up and down the street. His girlfriend was taken out from an apparent drug overdose. And while they're gone, some guy comes up to the house in broad daylight, jumps through their window, comes out, now I call the cops, I call the cops, and he dives through like Michael Phelps, goes in, and then he comes out with a bag, which most likely to distribute the drugs, and shuts the door and shuts the window and walks away, and then the cops come. So then I tell them what way the guy ran, but they can't find him. And then I said, while I got y'all here, they're dealing drugs and guns out of that house. And the commander there wasn't Worley, it was somebody else, but when the uniformed officers were trying to get information from me, he made them leave, which is very curious. Like, if a person is telling you they're running drugs and guns out of that house, why would you not want to interview that person and find out information? So then I had cut off contact with Detective Reggie Parker because he was acting really shady. He was asking me stuff about if I wanted a pit bull puppy and like all kinds of weird stuff. He was like throwing up all kinds of red flags. And then he was asking me like, did my then husband, who's my ex now, did my then husband know that I was talking to him? And I just thought it was like really weird questioning. Like, instead of asking me about the stuff going on across the street, he's asking me about my personal stuff. So I cut off contact with him. And I actually saw him one day parked up in East Perry's parking lot, like observing the area or whatever. And I thought he was observing that house, but apparently he was observing mine, because the guns and drugs were most likely being run by the cops out of my neighborhood. Let's just be perfectly 100% honest with this. They were the ones running the guns and drugs out of there. So the couple of nights before the raid of my house, I see one of the police officers, the uniformed police officers, when I said they're running guns and drugs out of that house, she actually had nabbed the guy that was dealing the drugs and stuff out of the house. I saw her with them, him and his girlfriend on the porch, and, you know, she had them, you know, handcuffed sitting on the porch. And then that same commander that made the people leave, when I said that the night of the break, the same commander was there. And he must have, like, either knew the homeowner or whatever, was like, that was like the way in. I don't know, like, if they were related. I have no idea what the situation was. But he took the guy's girlfriend in his own personal sergeant vehicle or whatever commander vehicle he was driving. It had no markings on it. It was just this big black SUV. He took her with him and made the officer leave and left that guy just like roaming the streets. So I was like, what the hell's up with that? You know, because I seen him walking up the street like 20 minutes later. Then the next day was like Memorial Day weekend, and I see him now. He hadn't had a car the whole time. No, not during the spring, not during the summer. He never had a car. All of a sudden, he's got a rental car, and he's literally throwing his belongings in through the open window, trying to get out of Dodge. So I was like, good riddance, you know, whatever. Thought it was all over with. Then on September 10th, 2015, I go run an errand to the supermarket. I come back, it's a nice night, it's a Thursday, about to sit down, like put on the first Thursday night football game. I leave my front door open because it's nice out, screen door there, whatever. I'm sitting there on the computer taking care of something, and all of a sudden, like my son was 12, he was playing in the basement, my older son was at work, everything was all nice, whatever, we're just chilling. Had some groceries still sitting on the kitchen table, and then all hell breaks loose. People dressed in black just pouring into my house, screaming and yelling, get the fuck down, get the fuck down, get the fuck down, hands up, get the fuck down. How can you get down and put your hands up at the same time? I'll never know. Well, all I know is the next thing I know is my ex is face down on the sofa, getting handcuffed behind his back. I'm down on the floor, face down in my own living room. And I was just like, what? And they were like, you can get up. And I got up and I was like, are you people kidding me right now? Because I didn't even know they were cops at first. I was like, what the hell's going on? And then I finally seen a police insignia on somebody. And I was like, are you all serious right now? You're not across the street raiding that house. You're in my house. Like, what the hell? And he's like, shut the fuck up, shut the fuck, screaming, like, pointing in my face. He's bigger than me, like this huge dude. His name was Jesus Avidia. And he's yelling in my face, like, telling me in my own house, shut the fuck up, bitch, shut up, shut up. Like, you know, just shut the fuck up. And then he goes out, and then there was just like 12 freaking officers. Bernardez Ruiz is standing in front of my TV, like right there in front of me. And I tell him, my 12-year-old boy is by himself downstairs. But it was too late, because he calls over to alert them that a minor is in the basement, but they were already on their way down. Now my son is, he's part Latino, he's little. He's tiny, he doesn't look like a grown-ass person. And there's a way out of my basement into my backyard, which was dark at the time. He said, I heard everything and I didn't know what was going on. I thought we were being robbed by those drug dealers. So, which kind of we were. But he said, and I was going to run out and ironically call the police into our backyard. But he said something told him, don't open the door. So he just stood there, and all he sees are black pants, black legs, coming down the steps, and a gun pointed over the railing. And then that one opens the back door and lets more in, and 3 to 4 grown-ass Baltimore City police officers held my 12-year-old son at gunpoint. made him go on his knees, put his hands on his head in the basement. We're not around. We're upstairs. He don't know if we're dead upstairs. He don't know like what the hell is going on. He didn't even know they were cops because they were just decked out in black. They marched him up the steps, and instead of just letting him, like, he's scared, his eyes were like this big. They're pushing him from behind, a 12-year-old that was like this big, pushing him from behind, pushing him up the steps. And one of the other cops comes traipsing through my living room, and slams a battering ram down on the floor and says, "Damn, I thought we were going to get to use this tonight." They go up to my oldest son's room and they're ransacking it. They go down in my basement and they're ransacking it. Touched nothing on my first floor. I got shelves of books. I got those cedar chests. I have like multiple rooms or whatever. They touched nothing on that first floor. That's how I know it wasn't a real drug raid. They were trying to freaking send a message to shut the fuck up because they knew I was taking license plate numbers. So they of course find nothing because we ain't dealing drugs. I had to ask them to uncuff my ex from behind and put his hands over. They had him sitting there like this on the sofa, like tight behind his. I'm like, you can't make him sit like that. Just like put his arms in front of him or something. So they put his arms in front of him and left him cuffed or whatever. But the weird thing was when they first came in, they called me by my name, Miss Britt. And they hadn't even had my license. They didn't get my license or anything. The only person who knew my name was Reggie Parker. So then I was so confused, and I was like, I don't understand this. Like, I was in contact with Reggie Parker, and they say, "Oh, Reggie Parker, he an asshole because he set us up. So not only was he on Tyrone's scene, Bernardez Ruiz was on Tyrone's scene, one of the main culprits, and Corey Jennings, this little pipsqueak ass little guy, is also on the drug task force or whatever with Reggie Parker, was in my house. So three of the cops that were on Tyrone's scene were in my house. That's like how we're connected. So to say, oh, and then like they do that all in my house. They ransacked my son's room, and just to be dicks, and then touched nothing on my first floor. That's how I knew it was fake. And then they left out. And while they're on their way out the door said, "Sorry for the inconvenience." I ain't kidding you. I can't make this. You know you can't make this shit up. Sorry for the inconvenience. I was a mess the whole weekend. Like, I could not function Friday. I could not function Saturday. But Sunday, something freaking snapped into me. It was like, write everybody. Call everybody. Find out what to do. I went to internal affairs on Monday. I had WBAL in my house on Tuesday. Okay, now WBAL, Barry Sims, comes to my house. I show him the supposed search warrant. The shit in it wasn't even right. It was talking about, we observed somebody walk up steps, buy drugs and walk out. I don't have steps in front of my house. I don't have any. I got one little step onto my porch. I have no steps in front of my house. So Barry Sims was reading it. Even he had what the fuck look on his face. And he was just like, yeah. And then, while they were in my house filming, me and my boys, a white van. There's no parking on my street. A white van is parked across the street with one of the freaking cops that was in my house behind a wheel. And I made the cameraman film it. And if you go and you look up my name, Adina Britt, ADIENA BRITT, and you pull up that WBAL footage, you will see that they filmed this white van across the street from my house while they were in my house. They were tampering with my mail. They were doing all kinds of freaking crazy stuff. They were sitting across the street in the freaking parking lot, like just freaking terrorizing me because they knew I worked from home. I was having full-blown ass panic attacks, calling my freaking lawyer, freaking the fuck out. I had to go into therapy. I had to put my son is still in therapy. He's almost 21 years old, and he's still in therapy from this. And he was talking about it today, saying, yeah, my whole life changed in 2015. He's like, and then, you know, he just like equates that to like one of the worst years of his life. And Richard Worley was the commander still. Richard Worley, I contacted. Richard Worley then has the nerve, after BAL got in his face and said, we got this email Miss Britt sent you. What's up with that? Why didn't you answer it? Why did you allow her house to be raided? Because they don't raid houses without commander approval. And then all of a sudden he wants to call me. He finally found my phone number and he finally called me. And he tries gaslighting me. And I was like, you know what? I don't care what your rank is. I don't care who you are. You're going to shut up and listen to me right now because I don't want to hear anything you got to say. I was like, because seriously, you are not going to do this to my family. I'm coming for you, and I'm coming for all them cops that were in my house. Yeah. And that's exactly what I did. But that man has no business being the commissioner of Baltimore City Police.
Nothing. That's right.
And anyone out there who has been affected by his lack of action or his okaying this bogus shit or these GTTF maneuvers or whatever like way they want to dream up these task force, get your ass down to City Hall and testify. Testify that he does not belong in that position. Mic check.
Mic check.
And I just want to back up a few points that my sister made, because like she said, 3 of the people that was in her home was a part of brutally murdering my unarmed brother. He had 17 people to murder him. And the fact that Ruiz was one of the first one at the scene to start murdering him is ridiculous. It's sad, it's disgusting. And then the fact that this so-called new commissioner, that they want to be commissioner, did nothing but laughed in my family face when my brother was murdered. He co-signed on it. He did some heinous things. And even I remember we were testifying for a bill at City Hall. He was one of the first ones running, stepping all on people's heads. When we were trying not to get the minimum 2-year something when we already had a 5-year, but it was a bill, everybody, it was peaceful. He ran over top, pushing old women, jumping over top, weapon out, all that. I remember who you are, I know who you are, and I know what you did. There's no way that we can have somebody like that running. But that's what they like corruption. And then the fact that my sister tonight told me, and I never knew that her ordeal happened on a Thursday. My brother was murdered on a Thursday. If you go back to the date, July the 18th, 2013, that was on a Thursday. That Thursday changed my family life forever. And that's why West Wednesday was created. Because of that Thursday, when they took everything from my goddamn family. And then it's crazy how I have crazy dreams, because last night I dreamt about zombies, and it's so scary because, and I don't mean to talk about nobody or offend nobody, but the lady that was over there making a scene, she looked like one of the zombies in the dream that I had. I'm not lying. That's why I scared the hell out of me, and I was like, knock her out. I was, hey, how you doing, baby? I was great. Lay hands like a pastor. She became near me. I'm trying to tell you. She would have got knocked cold out, and I had a rough week. Y'all would have saw another side of TJ tonight. I'm trying to tell you. But it's just sad how they send people, they pay them $2 to get them high and try to start stuff right in front of them. Just like people in our city get killed right in front of them. Y'all set out hits and y'all do nothing. Shame on y'all. I know what y'all doing. But it ain't going to stop us. It's making us more powerful. Do your goddamn job. Solve these unsolved homicides that y'all commit. Because all this ain't us. All this is not us.
No.
Right.
All these teenagers getting killed, the same teenagers that stood up to your ass in the uprising. They stood up on the front line throwing rocks at y'all. And this is the way y'all pay them back. I'm not stupid.
Okay.
But we here to not intimidated. You can follow me home. You can follow me anywhere you want to go. Send anybody. You can send the Walking Dead. It don't matter. I'm not going nowhere. We're gonna still keep speaking our truths. Nothing's gonna stop that. You can't change the stuff y'all did. And it's just sad and disgusting. And they trying to make sane people look insane when they're the ones.
Yes.
I don't drink, I don't do drugs, I don't do anything. Okay. I work my ass off every day to take care of my family.
Okay.
And it's the thanks we get. To make us look like fools up here. You can't make this stuff up. And for Ruiz to actually be a sergeant for what? And for them to try to put this new commissioner in when the last one was a piece of crap, every last one of them dating back to Bates. And the reason why they got mad at Bates was because he told them to stand down, and that's the only reason why I got an ounce of respect for him. Because our babies would have got killed. Our babies would have got killed if Davis was in the chair. You better believe that. Our babies would have got killed, murdered. It's sad. We in some real sad times, but it's up to us to stick together and to do what's right and to keep fighting. And I feel some type of way because my sister never speaks publicly, but to hear what her and her family went into. Imagine if that was your family. Your baby, y'all having a nice day in your home, relaxing. The safest place ever. The safest place ever. And to have a gang of drug dealers that you were calling on that you didn't realize was the po-po, and then they set you up. That's exactly what happened. And I'm praying that somebody on a national level is making the dots, because I really feel like something is about to happen. Y'all need to make these dots connect soon. Because if it's too late, then guess what? The message will never be out there. The corruption gonna keep on going on. Y'all need to make it right. Y'all got all the dots. Y'all know what happened. Literally after my brother was murdered, 2 days later, someone breaks in my brother's home. My brother was listed as a John Doe even though he had ID on him, even though someone stole it. And the only one that knew my brother's name, because everybody else was calling him John Doe, was Ruiz. He is so corrupt. I'm telling you, he put hits out on people. And I'm going to tell y'all another one. They playing with my family now. Because I told you 2 years ago, my cousin got in a car accident. Hey, guess who car it was? Ruiz. And they making them go to court for some civil crap. A week before my brother's 10-year commemoration, I'm throwing it out there. I'm putting y'all on point because I'm going to be at the courtroom with my cousin. Y'all not going to do this. And the same night, all the dirt came out on Ruiz. My cousin Tavon Anderson got murdered. And they keeping it quiet on a West Wednesday morning. That was the worst West Wednesday I ever had to do. I cried all day. Was up all night when my cousin called me and said my cousin was murdered. For no reason, he wasn't in the streets. But the night I'm on the news, 11:30, talking about Ruiz corruption, my cousin is murdered at 12:19. The same cousin I put up on my Facebook today, holding up a sign. Along with my dead uncle who died because of the stress from fighting for his damn nephew. And we never got it. I'm not going to keep losing family members. I'm coming for y'all. It's not a game. I promise y'all, I'm never giving up. And if y'all can see, y'all can't pay me off. You can't scare me off. And even if you kill me off, somebody gonna still stand here and represent. So y'all still gonna be held accountable. We're not gonna stop until killer cops are in cell blocks. And I'm gonna leave it right there. I'm gonna do a mic check, see if anybody else wanna say something before we go into the sad list. Mic check.
Mic check.
Anybody? All right, so I'm going to take my phone from Hillary. Or Rachel, can you take it for a second or somebody? Thanks.
Got it.
And before we go into the sad list, I have my beautiful sister, Hillary. She's going to read something And then we're going to read this every week because it's real crucial and important to us because we don't ever want to offend somebody by leaving somebody's name off or not even knowing or like support, because murder is heartbreaking. We just want to uplift people. So no further ado, my sister Hillary. Mic check.
Mic check. Check.
Mic check. So before we read the sad list of people who are killed either by community violence or police brutality, we like to read this statement so that folks know where we're coming from with it. It is the mission of the West Coalition to work for accountability for Tyrone West and all victims of police brutality. We believe there is a connection between police brutality and community violence. Police can use de-escalation strategies to diffuse situations without necessarily using force, and we encourage community members to resolve disputes without violence. We care deeply about those families impacted by police brutality and community violence. We seek to lift up the names of their loved ones from a place of respect and care. We obtain lists of names of those shot and killed by police and those lost to community violence from national and local news outlets. We know that these are by no means exhaustive lists and that gun violence isn't the only way people are murdered. We do not obtain detailed information about the circumstances surrounding each of these deaths or the people who died. By reading these names, we are not condoning violent behavior on the part of anyone involved in the situation. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check. So, we don't have a list for the police brutality list tonight because it's like at a standstill. But once we get the list, we'll definitely read you the list and try to highlight the names to the best of our ability. But we do have our brother Brian that's going to read the list. But before we even start with the list, I want to ask Brother Brian, do you want to say anything before you read the list? Okay, so at this moment, can we please take 1 minute? If you're in a prayer, that's fine. You can say a prayer. If not, please send positive energy, positive thoughts, that one day you will have a peaceful world where no one gets murdered. It's bad enough that we lose people just from sickness, different things, car accidents, things of that nature, and that's so heartbreaking and devastating as well. But tonight, I just want us to take 1 minute of silence just to stand in solidarity to show families respect, because 1 minute, and all it takes is 1 minute to change a person's life forever. It takes that 1 minute, not an hour, not a day, not a week, 1 minute to change a person's life forever. So let's take 1 minute to show the family respect. Mic check.
Mic check.
Check.
Thank you guys so much, Brother Brian. Mic check.
Mic check.
So this week here in Baltimore, we had 5 people who died in the community of violence. Each of these people had dreams, had family, had friends, and so we just lift them up, and I ask you to mic check their names back to me. Kimberly Benjamin.
Kimberly Benjamin.
Danielle Parnell.
Danielle Arnell.
Joshua Mickey.
Joshua Mickey.
Carla Joan.
Carla Jones.
Kenneth Banks.
Kenneth Banks.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. I want to give a big special shout out to to our sister Dina. Thank you so much tonight for sharing, trusting us. Thank you so much. I know words can never, outweigh what you have gone through and what you're going through. But just let you know that we love you. I love you dearly. So just keep pushing, and I'm glad that Sunday you woke up and said, oh no, I'm not taking this. And I'm thankful for each and everybody, because we might go through something. We might be down for a minute, but once we get up, we might fall down, but we definitely get back up. So a big shout out to Danielle. I'm sorry, that's Donna Rochester's mom. She had an event this weekend. I'm sorry I couldn't make it. I let my daughter borrow my vehicle to go to work, but I was there definitely standing in solidarity. It was his day, and it was a beautiful day. I saw the video. Bill shared it, and my sister Dina gave me a whole line of things that happened. And I'm glad you guys got to make it out there. So let's just keep supporting her. Let's just keep supporting each other. Remember, live to love, love to live. I love you all. We will see you next week. Mic check.
Mic check.